You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Welcome to an episode of Diakonia, a call to service. I'm Deacon Jim Norman, Vicar for Deacons with the Archdiocese of Chicago. Diakonia is the Greek word for service. It's also the root word for deacon. This is a show by deacons, but for all the faithful of Chicago, those called by baptism to be priest, prophet, and king. Today we're delighted to have with us members of the permanent diaconate staff, Deacon Dave Brensick and Deacon Richard Hudzik. I'll let them introduce themselves. Deacon David is our Associate Director in the office, and Deacon Richard Hudzik is our Director of Ongoing Formation for our permanent diaconate. We've got an interesting show today. We're going to talk about highlights and hopes. We'll each share personal highlights from this past year and professional highlights from this past year and our hopes for the coming year, 2024. I think it's probably all of us at this point in the year look back and look forward, just reflecting on what's past, looking at highlights and maybe challenges, but also looking forward with our hopes as we walk into the new year. So we're going to take some time to step aside and do that and hopefully get to know one another a bit better and learn some things. So welcome, gentlemen.
Jim, nice
Good
to see you
morning.
again.
Good day.
So we've got our personal highlights, our professional highlights, our spiritual highlights, and then our hopes. So let's start first with personal highlights. So Dave, tell us a personal highlight from 2024.
Well, I think
2023.
2023.
I got to figure out my years.
I would definitely think that the highlight for me this past year was the mission trip I was part of down to Rutledge, Tennessee with the Glen Mary Home Missioners. A group of us, deacons and lay people, were part of the group Hopes on the Way, which is based here in Chicago. And there were 7 of us, went down to Rutledge. And I don't know, Jim, if you've ever been on a mission trip, or Richard, it's exhausting. It's, you're working, many hours, but it's one of the most rewarding things that you'll ever want to do. We spent several days installing a greenhouse for a woman named Vivian Ann and her disabled daughter, Ambria. And it helped them to become more self-sustaining. And it was, when we were finished working on that project, the 2 of them were just so grateful for us being there. They had been waiting 7 years to get that greenhouse installed. And Vivian Ann told our group, that we were the answer to her prayers. So it was hot. It was, Tennessee in August. So it was mid-90s with high humidity. But, it was, again, it was very rewarding work. And then later in the week, we did kind of branched off with other projects. The group I was with, we worked and helped put a tarp on an elderly woman's house that had been leaking, just to help. She was going to be getting a roof in the future, a new roof, but this was kind of a stopgap to help her. And seeing the poverty in Appalachia, I know we've always heard about it, but to see it, up close and how these people are living, that's just really opens your eyes to what we have and the need that's out there.
Thank you, Dave. Richard, personal highlight for you for 2023?
I suppose it was a process, ever continuing process, but readjusting my life situation to its new reality. As I love to point out to anybody who asks, my children especially, that I've been working in one capacity or another since 1964 or something, caddying or whatever. But I've been doing stuff. So it's just been a lifetime of working, and now shifted into a different position at the diaconate office, having some more time for family and the grandkids, in a process of learning to let go of some things, learning the ability to say, "Hey, Jim and Dave, that's your problem. It's not mine.
You're on your own."
You're on
He
your own.
seemed to be pretty
You're
good
on
at
your
that,
own.
right?
So it's a question of it's a spiritual journey. It's a wonderful experience to have the time and space a little bit more to, as the expression goes, have the main thing be the main thing. Be available to the parish more. Be available to wife and kids and grandkids more. So it's a reordering of priorities. It's having the ability to step back a bit from the frenetic pace. We're recording this right. What is it? 7:30 in the morning or something.
Yeah.
I'm usually safely ensconced in my home at 7:30 in the morning. But in the old days, this was routine. You get up at 5:30 and start charging hard until you collapse in an exhausted heap in the bed at 10 o'clock at night or whatever. So I'm exaggerating, but I think it's just a change of pace and learning the graces in that different pace.
Thanks. Interesting. A highlight for me in the past year, as both of you know, and the audience will now know, my mom had a severe stroke at the end of December of 2022, and so went through a journey of about 4 weeks in hospital and rehabilitation, and the final diagnosis was of vascular dementia. And I was struggling with my own back issues at that time. So, and my stepfather has limited mobility and balance issues.
Back issues is in your spine.
My spine.
Okay, not history, ancient history. Okay.
And so through that, although very difficult, I mean, the things that were going on with my mother's help, and at one point, the doctor said to my brother and I, "Gentlemen, we're talking months. We're not talking a year." And so we're kind of dealing with that. But walking through that moment, I was able to see how the community of friends and neighbors supported them both and me. And those were just grace-filled moments. I remember going to breakfast with my stepfather, just kind of spending time and listening with him before we go into the hospital and spend the rest of the day. And he gets out of the car, and I get his walker, and the mobility isn't good. And this line of about 20 people waiting to get in this restaurant all kind of part for us and let us take the first place. And even, he protested, I protested, but they insisted. And the couple that was there behind us that had let us come in front of them, we bought their breakfast. And the lady came over, and we didn't say anything. We just said, "Take care of them." And the lady came over with her husband, and they were just in tears and hugged us. And it's just a wonderful moment. Or when my mother was out of rehabilitation and took her after a doctor's appointment to eat, a lady saw us, I think we were 120 yards away, and she just stood there and held the door for us. And she had tears in her eyes when we got to the door, because it reminded her of her mother who she had lost. Mm-hmm. And then there was a third incident where I left my computer with me hobbling, my stepfather in a wheelchair. I left my computer in the back of the wheelchair that the hospital provides. So I called back and said, I left my computer. Did anyone find it? He said, yeah, security found it. We've got it. I'll pick it up in the morning. When I got there to pick it up, the security guard wanted to meet me. And he said, well, I was able to figure out whose computer this was. I Googled you. I stumbled on one of your sermons. And, I was touched by it. I'm going to go back to church. And I felt like for a moment that I was a part of your ministry. And that this was all intended. And I just, those grace moments along the way left me just with a more intentional sense about what matters, what's important, caused me maybe perhaps to slow down and contemplate a bit. As I reflect on my own highlights and Dave and Richard, your highlights, it's interesting that these highlights come from some, obviously, self-reflection, but they also, David, in the heat and in service and in the midst of poverty, that was a place where you found a highlight because you were in touch with someone. Mm-hmm. Richard, it was from you self-examining and, just sorting and trying to get back centered. And I don't know that you slowed down. Your podcasts are probably you're producing more of those than ever before. But it just seemed to me interesting where our highlights come from, and so where one might look. We didn't talk about achieving. We didn't talk about having. We talked about experiencing. We talked about service. We talked about being. We talked about reflecting, even watching the grace, the kindness of others spill on us.
It reminds me of Father Dominic Grassi, Chicago priest. I encountered him. He was spiritual director during diaconate formation. But he has three books, the titles of which are Bumping into God. And there are these stories about these encounters with God in the most ordinary of circumstances, in the restaurant, people's gratitude in Appalachia, just these evidences of the graced nature of all of reality, that God is with us, and sometimes we just need to open our eyes and see what's plainly there. And you were going to say.
No, I was going to say, I kind of second that. It's reflecting, Jim, as you said, after the fact, how God was with us at those times. His hand was there guiding us, bringing us encountering these people, and that happens every day if we're aware. If our eyes are open.
Amen.
And that's the putting on the homilist hat here. Isn't that the challenge for the homilist, to help people discern that reality in their lives? And that's a way of, maybe that's the introductory hook to the homily, is to awaken that sense of God's reality in our midst, and then use that as food for thought. 'Cause God is with us at all times.
It gives a possibility then that in every one of our days, given what you said, there's a highlight. But we may miss it if we don't slow down and observe and just recognize God walking with us, and God showing his grace and love and mercy to us in many ways through others, putting us at the right place to be of service, giving us time to kind of look at our lives and take it apart and put it together in priority order, getting the first things first and perhaps placing God first, or just recognizing and accepting the grace and love of others.
Well, I think we have to give ourselves, everybody, the opportunity sometime during the day for quiet, whether it's in the morning or in the evening, to reflect on the day, to think about, where did I encounter God today, or how can I encounter God today? How can I be of servant? And that's part of a deepening relationship with Jesus.
It's that daily examine that at least once a day,
at least
to
once
reflect
a day.
on what's been good, where you might have stumbled, and what you can hope for tomorrow.
Let's stop and take a break there and come back and pick up on hopes for 2024.
Okay.
baptized like I have been baptized. Are you able? Are you able? For I have come not to be served, but to serve, to give my life, if you wish to be the first you must see, to be a servant, to be a servant of all.
Join Catholic Charities on Sunday, February 4th for the 2024 Divine Affair, a premier wine tasting event held at Chicago's Union League Club. Sample and purchase wines and craft beers from around the world. Attend a wine appreciation or beer tasting seminar while you enjoy gourmet hors d'oeuvres and fabulous desserts. A fantastic silent auction and raffle are included as well. All proceeds benefit Catholic Charities programs and services that help anyone in need throughout Cook and Lake counties. To purchase Divine Affair tickets and learn about great sponsorship opportunities, visit CatholicCharities.net or call 847-226-5697. That's 847-226-5697.
I feel special. I feel great. I got good grades.
We've seen a huge surge in our kids now meeting or exceeding grade level. Come check us out. You may have never thought we were an option before.
Our school communities provide students with academic excellence and character education in a supportive and stable learning environment. Come see for yourself. Visit archchicago.org/findaschool.
Did you know that Catholic Charities accepts car donations? If you're ready to free up space in your garage and put a stop to all those expenses that go along with owning a car, we will gratefully accept your donation, whether the car is running or not. You choose a pickup time that is convenient for you, and we will make the donation as easy as possible free of charge. You'll receive a charitable donation receipt as well. We accept all types of vehicles nationwide, and you will know that your donation is made to Catholic Charities, an agency you can trust. To learn more about donating your car, call 877-786-4483. That's 877-786-4483. Thank you.
To sit at my right hand or at my left is not for me to give, but for those for whom it has been prepared.
Welcome back to Diakonia. Deacon Jim Norman here with Deacon Dave Brinsick and Deacon Richard Hudzik. We were talking right before the break about the ability to stop and reflect on your day, to reflect on your week or the month or the year. And doing that, you might find highlights. You might find God present where you least expected. Richard referred to the book Bumping Into God was the title?
I think that's,
of a book you might want to take a look at. Also, when you stop and reflect, you probably tap into hopes that you have for the future. And so we wanted to take some time to talk about or share our hopes, either personally or professionally, for 2024. And this time we'll start with Richard.
Hopes 2024, personally or professionally. Well, personally, I have on the docket, sadly it's on Holy Week, but anyway, I've got a 10-day trip to India planned right around. We'll be back on Easter Monday, but I'm going with my son and his wife and kids and some of his in-laws to visit his sister-in-law and her family who live in India. They're medical folks. So it's I've been to Israel a handful of times, and I've been to Europe a couple times. I've never been so far east or west, depending on your point of view. So it's I'm very excited about that. What is surely to be an eye-opening experience of travel around India. So I'm getting my shots and all that kind of good stuff. And anyway, I'm just I'm bracing myself for the experience, and I'm very much looking forward to it. So,
are you committed to posting on Facebook your travel?
I could do that.
If you don't post it, it doesn't happen.
That's right. All 10 of my followers would probably, So I will share it because it's good to have the experience and also to interpret that and share it. That's what makes it particularly fun. So that's just personally, that's a big thing happening in 2024 for me.
Okay, and since we had mentioned it, the expression is if you don't post it, it didn't happen.
Right.
Where can our audience find you, either on Facebook or on YouTube?
Well, at Facebook, you can get onto the Chicago Diaconate Facebook page. There's some postings there, and then also I have a humble YouTube channel called Deacon Richard Handing on the Faith, and the ambition is to post weekly. I fail utterly at that. It's more like monthly, but there I endeavor to communicate, hopefully in a winsome, interesting way, not just me rambling, as I'm doing right now, but try to communicate to people some of the, if you will, some of the cool stuff, some of the things that I get excited about in our faith that just have to be shared. The line from the first epistle of John, we share these things so that we might be in fellowship and that my joy might be complete. So Deacon Richard Handing on the Faith, periodic observations, or teaching is too exalted, but sharing stuff that I think are important for people to know. So that's the other creative outlet that I have.
Thank you. And David, hopes for 2024?
I'm looking forward to completing my training as a spiritual director. There are 7 deacons from the Archdiocese of Chicago who are in the Maze Lake Sacred Presence program, and we're in the midst of that right now. I will be finishing up in June to be trained as spiritual directors. And the plan is that once we're finished, we'll be offering our service as spiritual directors to the deacons and wives of the diaconate community. This has been, a project that our effort to try to encourage the deacons, especially, to have a spiritual director, and we're hoping that with more directors available, that our brothers and sisters will take advantage and go through spiritual direction, because it can be so helpful in your journey, with the Lord, your faith journey, helping someone see the highlights and the lowlights and how God has been walking with us.
How's the program been for you so far?
Some of the reading has been challenging. The part of, like, every class we have Thursday nights, it's on Zoom. Part of it is a practicum where someone plays a role of director and another person is the directee, and the others are observers. So for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever, you have like a mini spiritual direction session. So that's probably the most worthwhile practice that we have so far every week, in addition to the lecture and the discussion. But it's kind of honing our skills to be spiritual directors and to understand what that involves.
Thanks. For me, highlights are, hopes professional are, I guess, the exploration of the partnerships that are available to us. Joseph and Mary Retreat House, IDS, which we seem to be moving in that direction. The Holy Spirit seems to be moving us in that direction. We're stumbling on opportunities to collaborate further.
Maybe what's IDS, Jim?
Institute for Diaconal Studies, thank you, and the Instituto, which is the formation for our Hispanic deacons. Also, partnerships with Catholic Charities. We've tried in many different ways to partner with them, especially with the working with asylum seekers and the homeless. I think there's some real opportunities, some synergies there that benefit both us and them, and most importantly, those in need, the asylum seekers. And I hope for some partnerships with priest training, that is, we say clergy, and we provide training and support for priests, that training and support could be extended to the diaconate community, and hope at some point that some of those programs and efforts could be extended to all the faithful, and certainly they would benefit from those programs. So I'm hopeful that there will be more collaboration and more partnerships in 2024 to support the clergy and to support the faithful of the Archdiocese of Chicago.
Some exciting things.
Yeah. Are there any other hopes that you'd want to share in the time we have remaining for 2024?
Well, we have in April, we're going to have our second joint symposium with the Diocese of Joliet. Last year, we had a symposium based on the Eucharist, and the one in April is going to be centered on homiletics, which is always a very popular topic for our deacons. We're always looking for, best practices and suggestions for resources, and Richard has lined up a good speaker for us. And
yeah, Father Mike Connors, who's the director of the Martin Center for Preaching at Notre Dame University, and in preparation for, I was going to share this with you guys, off air, but just 10 seconds here. In preparation for that gathering in April, I've been doing some of the background reading that have been recommended by Father Connors, among which was an article by Deacon James Keating, who talks about contemplative preaching, and the idea being that the homilist, any homilist, his goal is to be himself filled with the Lord and to be able to point his congregation in that direction of Jesus. It's not didactic, it's not pedantic, it's not catechetical. The place of the role of the homily, the Mass is formative. It is prayerful. It's a question of discernment to maybe help people see how they are bumping into God, as we mentioned earlier. So there's some great resources, not only in a practical sense, but also in a deeply spiritual sense, that the homilist of necessity, I think, is converted himself, and then he communicates that insight to the people. So that's what part of what I'm looking forward to with this thing in April.
Okay. And there are two groups, I think, in terms of supporting going forward. The Diaconate Women had a great start in 2023. Looking forward to great things from them in 2024 and supporting them in whatever way we can. I want to thank Dave for all the work he's done with them. And we're making efforts to support our widowed deacons, which I think is really important, in a community with needs. And I think they can do a lot to support one another. So there's a lot to be hopeful for in 2024. I am forever grateful for your gentlemen's support, friendship, and guidance and coaching and mentoring in 2023, and keep it coming in 2024.
Will do.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Jim.
It's an honor.
Or at my land, he is not for me to give, but for those for whom it has been prepared. It